Uttar Pradesh, the government has announced a directive to private coaching institutes to not conduct late evening classes for female students.
You want a safer world? Just make sure all the women remain inside. That's Mr. Yogi's always got the best ideas.
Another genius idea that Yogi ji had was they're going to establish a AI-powered Vedic city in Ayodhya now.
Yeah.
A company from Delhi has been given the contract.
Very nice. Let's come back to Uttarakhand.
Now, we all know that the Himalayas are very young mountains. They are geologically very different from any other mountain chain. And to do a project which is this enormous without EIA, without doing any geological studies, we are bound to get into this kind of trouble.
Throughout the year, we've had really terrible news coming in from these Himalayan regions. Right at the beginning, you had Joshimath sinking.
Sikkim.
Sikkim. You had possibly the worst floods in Himachal Pradesh. These are not freak events. This is the result of haphazard development. And in this case, this Char Dham Project, I get so angry every time I think of it because
our deities, Badrinath, Kedarnath, Gangotri, all the deities come down to shrines during the winter months. So the yatra as such, even the deities or our ancestors, they have not visualized the entire yatra as all-weather yatra.
Broadcast bill, which is causing much consternation.
They are bringing in a bill to change the definition of what a broadcaster is. So earlier broadcaster, when you think of a broadcaster, it's either radio or TV.
If I'm using an electronic loudspeaker and standing outside and I'm
Yeah,
doing,
you're a
yo,
broadcaster.
DJ Khalid in the house.
you're a broadcaster.
I'm a broadcaster.
But the funny thing is, so they have left this definition of broadcaster so loose that they're saying that we can change it by notification by including emerging technologies, right? So if you do
Future
that
mein bhi kuch
tomorrow and it actually goes viral, then they might say that using a loudspeaker is an emerging technology and they'll include it as a broadcaster. So
Welcome to Chhota Hafta. Now, Chhota Hafta is but a small, chhota version of a complete weekly podcast, Newslaundry Hafta. The Newslaundry Hafta is where you get the week's news, what made the headlines, what didn't make the headlines, but the full version is available to subscribers only. And I don't mean YouTube subscribers, although YouTube subscribers are also very welcome, very, very grateful to you, but also to Newslaundry subscribers, the paying subscribers who pay to keep news free. So you can also become a paying subscriber by clicking the subscription link. Now, what do you get if you're a paying subscriber? You get access to all our paywall content, all interviews, podcasts, and importantly, you get access to a full unedited Hafta, where you not only get to hear the week's news, but you get to hear the Newslaundry editors' positions on matters. You get to see their biases, what are their prejudices. It's an exercise in transparency while also informing you, and we have a few quips and jokes and agreements and disagreements thrown in. So listen to the full Hafta, subscribe to Newslaundry, and pay to keep news free. Here we go.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta. Before I introduce the panel to you, I would like to tell everybody, Sunday we will get the results of the 5 states that went to the polls, and 5 independent digital news organizations, that is Caravan and Newslaundry, the News Minute, Scroll, The Wire, will be jointly bringing you the results live. That stream will be available on the YouTube channels of all these 5 organizations. It will be there on our website or the websites of any of these. So what I think we really need is broadcast or video or digital, live coverage from news organizations that don't depend on money from either government ads, whether it is Mr. Modi's ads or whether it is from Telangana Chief Minister's ad or the Punjab Chief Minister's ad or any other ad, or from Mr. Ambani and Mr. Adani. So we are bringing this together. 5 of us are doing this together. So you will have Dhanya there, Manisha, Siddharth Vardarajan, Hartosh Bal, Seema Chishti. Tell me if I'm missing anyone.
Supriya of Scroll.
Supriya from Scroll.
Shoaib Danyal
from Scroll.
Lots of reporters from all our organizations, and of course external panelists who are going to be very interesting to listen to.
Yes. So do watch the election results on that live stream, and also do contribute. So we guys can do this regularly. We can make it bigger and better. So there is a real alternative to legacy broadcast media when it comes to election coverage, because it is very problematic the way it is right now. So do watch out for that. Sunday we will go live at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we will be live till about 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yes.
Even as the results roll in.
Non-stop without any ads.
Yes, non-stop without ads. Now and then we will keep telling you to contribute. But in the link in the show notes below, please click and contribute to this. All the money that is going to be used is going to be so that we can have this financed comfortably. And whatever is left over will be distributed equally among the 5 organizations. So this is one way you can contribute to all 5 organizations.
एक तीर से 5 निशाने.
Arey wah, ye hui na baat. On that note, I'd also like to remind you of the election fund that News Minute and us have put together to cover the election. You can contribute to that as well. Now, before we get to the headlines, I'd like to introduce the panel. In the studio, Manisha Pande, who's back after having roamed the country.
My world tour.
Oh, Germany and then the other 4 states.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, I'm back finally. Really happy to be back, even though very sad that it's still super polluted in Delhi, but still.
But still, home is home.
Yeah.
And Meghnad, who is here as a special panelist as opposed to the regular team member of Newslaundry. He is a journalist, an author who simplifies intricate legislative and political matters through podcast videos. He was former associate editor at Newslaundry, where he hosted popular shows like Sansad Watch and Constitution. Joining us online is our very own Jayashree, who is here after a while. How are you, Jayashree?
Hi. I don't have a world tour to blame, but I had a very bad virus. So I still carry the remnants of it with me today. But
You can hear it in your voice.
Yeah.
Get well soon. We wish you a speedy recovery, but good to see you after a long time.
Yes.
And joining us is our guest, Lokesh Ohri. Hi, Lokesh.
Hi.
So Lokesh is an Indian anthropologist, historian, writer and cultural activist. He's based in my hometown, Dehradun, Uttarakhand.
Mine too.
Except that you still have a house there. I don't have a house there, but I still consider it my hometown. But did you attend the Chief Minister's victory lap after the rescue, the success? I believe the Chief Minister in
No,
red...
I only saw the videos.
Oh, damn.
Saw the videos
You-
on YouTube.
Lokesh, you should have been there with a flag cheering him on. Anyway, he's a convener for the Dehradun chapter of the Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage. He has campaigned for the preservation of the natural and cultural heritage of Doon Valley. His latest piece on Indian Express, you can read it in the link below in the show notes. It's called Rescue Apart, There's Tunnel Vision in Devbhoomi, Uttarakhand. Welcome, Lokesh. Let's come back to Uttarakhand. There was 41 41 workers who were building a tunnel in the place, what's it called again?
Silkyara tunnels.
Yeah, and they were trapped. First, when the tunnel collapsed, so they were trapped. Both sides were stuck, and after 18 days, is that correct? Finally, they exited after 18 days.
17, I think.
17
Yes.
days. I read in a few places, and many people have commented that this tunneling is not a good idea. But back in the day, I was made to believe that tunneling is a better way to make remote parts of mountains accessible as opposed to cutting the mountain and making roads.
I think both are equally bad and equally ecologically harmful to the Himalayas, especially when you have a 826 kilometer long highway that you're building, which is called the all-weather road or the Char Dham Mahamarg. And you have divided the project into 53 smaller projects just to bypass your own rule that you don't have to do an environment impact assessment. And to do a project which is this enormous without EIA, without doing any geological studies, we are bound to get into this kind of trouble. And even when we are doing tunnels, we should be using tunnel borer machines, but to cut on costs, most companies are doing explosions inside the tunnels. So you're still using the age-old methods of blasting through explosives to cut through the rock, and which is bound to lead to problems.
As opposed to a machine that works as like a corkscrew kind of thing. It just goes round and round.
Yes.
And, okay. So you're saying
And
that is
too
safer.
you should do
That is a
after-
safer way of doing it as opposed to dynamite.
Yes, definitely. It's a safer way of doing it, but it's a much more expensive way of doing it. So we are
Also, I think what really jumped out for me is that they just seem so severely underprepared, and I want to know if that is just generally what the case is, because there's no escape route, there's no escape tunnel, all that we read about. But then also, they didn't seem to have any rescue equipment at hand. I think they had to fly it in. Also, what I found really peculiar is that they sent the workers like antidepressants and vitamins, but the food was like popcorn, and they only got their first like cooked meal
Hot meal,
9
yeah.
days later. So it just, and also it seemed like authorities were just sort of running from one option to the other. And then this Australian came along and he sort of like took it in hand. And the biggest thing for me was like Indian authorities from the start kept saying, yes, they'll be out in 1 day, 2 day. It's like giving something to a
It
tailor.
wasn't
right?
clear, yeah.
And your tailor is like, it's ready, but it's not ready. And then the Australian was giving very realistic timelines. Like he was considering all the scenarios, all the risks, he's giving you the worst case timeline, which is, he said, we're hoping like by Christmas. And I think, whereas on the Indian side, there was just some rash promising, and the media also, so every day we saw breakthrough, but there was no breakthrough.
This was so obvious, this breakthrough thing. So, I mean, I was just browsing like some news channels and there was this whole breakthrough. Aaj Tak was like, oh, breakthrough in tunnel rescue operation. And then the very next thing that they showed was this antibiotics guy coming in and saying that hamara machine hi toot gaya. Like the machine we had sent to bore, there was some very hard material that came in the middle and it broke down completely. And he was like, this is a very difficult situation. Our timelines might exceed now because of it.
Yeah.
And I think you have to look at all of this if you just were in December. But throughout the year, we've had really terrible news coming in from these Himalayan regions. Right at the beginning, you had Joshimath sinking.
Sikkim.
Sikkim. You had possibly the worst floods in Himachal Pradesh. These are not freak events. This is the result of haphazard development. And in this case, this Char Dham Project, I get so angry every time I think of it because, look, I understand. And when we were traveling for elections during Uttarakhand, connectivity is very important, and especially for the hill people. You cannot wait. You cannot not have a road to reach your nearest super speciality hospital. So I get building roads is important. I get that connectivity, especially for the hills, is important. But what is this Char Dham Yatra project? These are 4 religious pilgrim sites where just for mindless tourism, you are just... And this tunnel is supposed to be reducing the hour from 4 hours to 3 hours. I mean, why can you not travel 4 hours in the hills? Yeah, what is this urgency of connecting It's the hills. It's supposed to be inaccessible. It's supposed to be difficult to get to tourist spots there. It's a yatra, but yes, yatras are supposed to take time. You can't fast forward, speed up everything.
Well,
For
if you can
what?
get VIP darshan, depending on which temple you go to, there's VIP darshan package, there's regular package.
And this is destroying local lives. This is not helping locals there. I get development for the people who live there, but I don't get this mindless kind of construction just so that more tourists can, populate the place.
The communities in the Himalayas are quite upset with this whole idea of pilgrimage transforming into tourism. That earlier pilgrimage was undertaken that to meet Shiva or to meet Vishnu. You went to Badrinath or Kedarnath. Now it's basically transforming into pleasure-seeking tourism. And if you talk to any person in the villages around, a lot of these villages are getting abandoned. People are leaving these villages and going away. What is happening is that we are bringing in more and more people. Like the 2013 disaster that happened in Kedarnath. When the floods came, there were about 30 to 40,000 people in around that shrine, whereas the carrying capacity of that site is hardly 3,000.
So moving on to this broadcast bill, which is causing much consternation. I hope I've used that word correctly.
Yes, you have.
I'm glad I have. Thank you, teacher. So tell me, what should we be afraid of now? Because basically being afraid is a constant state of being.
Yes.
But every day you have to tell us, what am I scared of today?
So the government has been trying to tame independent media for a while. And they have been making changes to the IT Act. They have been implementing rules, but the courts have stayed those. So now they are bringing in this law, which is Broadcast Service Regulation Act. Now, through this act, they are basically trying to do the same thing that they did with the Cable TV Act, but they're just increasing the scope of it. So now what they're doing is broadcaster would be someone who uses any kind of network. Like a terrestrial network, internet network. They actually say internet network, which theek hai. Usually satellites, all the things, all of them are included. And also the other thing they're doing is that there is one part in the bill which says that, it needs to lead to a commercial activity. This whole thing that you're doing. And then in another part, they say that, if you have a certain number of subscribers and members, again, that is also loose. What does a subscriber, member,
Is it YouTube
follower?
subscriber? Is it paying subscriber?
Is it a Twitter follower list?
Right.
Whatever it
What
is.
is it?
Is it Modi ji's WhatsApp channel and the people who have subscribed to
Right.
it?
Could be any of those.
Could be any of them. So all of these things, they have hodgepodged and sort of included all of that in this bill.
Now, the one thing that they haven't factored in is that when this was for broadcast, there was, I'm not saying it's a small amount, but from the time they brought this bill in, the number of television channels went up from about 7-8
To 300
to about 300 to 400. In case of websites, YouTube channels, they're in the millions. So I'd like to see how this one body of bureaucrats will deal with, let's say, someone virals, aaj complain karo, hashtag complaint to the body. And everyone's followers send complaints. I would like to see how they will resolve it.
See, and that's my other thing, right? So, for example, like as I said,
What they'll do is they'll search, see what are the complaints in Newslaundry, scroll, caravan, wire.
Yeah, it will
We'll only
be
resolve those.
reverse.
Bakiyon ko chhod do.
a lot of these things are now currently very unsaid in the industry, at least in the OTT sort of side of things, where, say, let's say if you have to produce a show on a socio-political issue, it might not be even political, just social issue. You go to these executives and the executives will first tell you to go to legal and check your script for every and any kind of liability.
And the moment you bring lawyers in, you can't do anything. That I tell you
And at the
myself,
first
lawyers.
moment, OTT now on what the Congress did wrong. That is allowed. You can do like Bhopal gas tragedy.
Right.
You
can do emergency.
Right.
All that is great.
That is fine, yeah.
So all talent should now focus on that era.
Right, even that Kashmir files and
But then,
Kerala.
so what we're saying now is that already these OTT platforms and broadcasters have these sort of inbuilt processes where they're self-censoring, they're seeing what's legal and so on. So we're saying above and beyond that now, though,
Yes.
then their content will again be evaluated by some random committee, whatever, some kind of internal board, and then it goes through 3 layers. Is that like how it would?
So what will happen is,
बस मुफ्त में इतना ही मिलेगा. For the full uncut podcast, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free. The best way to listen to the Hafta and indeed all our podcasts is through the Newslaundry app. You can download the app by clicking on the links given in the show notes. So do download our app and get the best podcast experience. And also pay for news and support a new news media ecosystem that Newslaundry is trying to encourage, where we are accountable to you because we run on contributions that you make. We don't take government ads, we don't take corporations ads, so that news serves the public, because when the public pays, the public is served. Subscribe to Newslaundry, click on the link in the show notes below and proudly say, I pay to keep news free.